So today I want to talk to everybody about the difference in parts, and that would be between an aftermarket part and a factory part that would come from the vehicle manufacturer that designed and crash tested your car. Today we're going to talk about, more specifically, bumper covers or plastic parts. So if you've ever been driving down the road and you see a car with paint peeling from the front bumper cover, and it almost looks like a cow print, kind of like those Jersey cows that have the big black splotches on the side of them, where the paint's just coming off in sheets. Well, that's usually caused by one of two things. It's either improper prep for paint, where the surface wasn't properly prepared for the paint to adhere to the surface, and then it goes and it starts to peel off, and that could be something that even happens with a factory bumper cover, and we'll talk about that in another video. Or it could be an aftermarket part where it's not so much the paint that's failing as much as it is that it's actually the primer that comes on that aftermarket part that's starting to fail, or that primer is actually peeling away from the plastic. So one of the issues with an aftermarket part is that a lot of times it'll come primered from whatever factory it's made in, and the primer is actually not typically very good. So what we're actually going to do is today we took two videos of a Honda CR-V that we bought. We're replacing a bumper end on, and we bought two different bumper ends. One of them was a brand new factory bumper cover from Honda, and the other one was actually an aftermarket bumper end that we bought from just off of online. So what we're going to do in this video is what we would call a solvent test. So the idea is that what you'll do is you put a little bit of solvent on a rag, and then you'll rub it on the surface of the new part and basically see if that primer actually stays on the part, or if it goes and it starts to lift up. If you go and you have the issue where you go and you start to rub that solvent on that part and the primer goes and starts to lift up, then you probably don't have a very strong primer, and I wouldn't necessarily consider it very likely to last the life of your part, especially on a high impact part. Whereas if we go and we look at the factory part, if we go and we take that same solvent on the same type of rag and we go and we rub that part, we'll see that that primer doesn't go and start to lift off. So with that said, as long as we kind of do everything right with our prep to the primer, we really shouldn't have the issue with the primer going and lifting off of that factory part and causing an issue with it peeling. Now, with all that said, I'm definitely not any type of chemist, so I couldn't necessarily explain to you what's going on. But if you go and you use the type of solvent that you would actually use in the cleaning process for that bumper cover to get it ready for paint, and that primer is already starting to go and peel off, I wouldn't have a ton of trust in that primer going and lasting the life of that part. So with all this, not necessarily to bash aftermarket parts. They may have a place in the world. The question is does it belong on your car? And that's one of the things that we're going to talk to you about if we go and we repair your car. Is you'll never get an aftermarket part put on your car without us talking to you first. And as a result, we really haven't installed many aftermarket parts when we go and we explain to customers what the difference is and what they potentially could be giving up. Thanks.